Hello and welcome back to the Business of Happiness podcast. Hi, guys. My name is Dr. Tarryn MacCarthy, and this is the Business of Happiness, recorded specifically for women dentists, high-achieving women dentists who are looking for happiness to go from the busyness of their lives and of their careers and looking towards what is this business of happiness? How can I find more fulfillment? How can I feel more happy and alive in the work that I do? And if you've landed here for the first time, welcome. You're in for a really special treat because this is the first of two parts in Are You Your Own Worst Enemy? Can you even wrap your head around the fact that maybe the only thing that's been getting in your way from getting what you really want in life is you? Are you your own worst enemy? And this two-part series is really focusing on self-sabotage. Those things that we do to sabotage the incredible momentum towards exactly what we want. Are you sabotaging the very thing that you are trying to manifest? Are you sabotaging the dream life, the dream of how you want to feel? Are you the one that's getting in the way? And life is trying to offer it to you, but man, you keep sabotaging it. Oh my gosh. And if this sounds familiar, I am with you. I have done this so many times in my life. And let me just say, before we even get into the juice of this episode, which is really powerful, is that you are not alone. You are not going crazy. And let's not beat ourselves up over this right now. Just having the awareness of it could be enough to shift it for you. So this doesn't require deep work or therapy necessarily, just being aware. So that's what we're talking about in this first episode is how do I even become aware of those moments when I am sabotaging? Because if you're honest with yourself, if you could just have the awareness of it, that could be enough to shift your energy or your thought pattern or your belief and really change the outcome for you. So let's dive in. I was remembering this past week, I have a community of women dentists called Thrive. And these are incredible women dentists who have gone through my Radical Happiness program and are in this community now of deep support and raising each other up and really doing the work of feeling good and knowing how to navigate that for themselves. And this past week, we were talking about self-sabotage. And I was reminded of a time when I did this to myself, when I'd recently opened up a practice. So it was a scratch start orthodontic practice. And you know, when you're starting a practice, the cash flow is a concern, especially a scratch start practice. I mean, any practice that you're beginning, even if you've purchased it, has a little lag in the money that's coming in. And we try to move that along as quickly as possible. So, of course, the desire there that I'm highlighting is to make more money, right? That's kind of a very basic desire to have even just like a positive end of month reconciliation of your books so that you're actually in the black and not in the red. Even if you've taken out a loan with overhead, a loan for your overhead, which is very common when you're opening a practice. A part of your loan is for building out the business. A part of it is for the equipment, and a part of it is for overhead and life. You might even take out a loan that includes your expenses in your daily life, like your car payments and your food and paying the nanny. And those are important to be very clear on when you're taking out a loan. So I'm going back in time now to about a year after we had opened up our practice. I'm talking about my partner and I. We had started a scratch start practice with 2 orthodontists and not 1 employee to begin with. And everyone told us we were crazy. Spoiler alert, this was an incredibly profitable, phenomenal business. And I talk a lot about how that came about in this podcast. So stick around if this sounds of interest to you. And this was about a year in. So it's pretty normal or typical, I should say, to still be in the red around a year into your practice. In fact, many consultants will tell you that it takes 2 to 5 years to even get to a place of profitability. And 1 year in, we were doing so well. Now we had a whole team and we were really doing a great job. And this, by the way, was the practice that I created the business model based on my needs, on my values, on my desires. My partner and I, we collaborated on this. But this was not a business that was centered around the needs of patients. Of course, we took that into account. Of course, we were delivering the very best care. But we made sure that the model of the practice was based on fueling and fulfilling ourselves first. In terms of hours, in terms of focus, in terms of direction, in terms of energy, in terms of the values of the practice, we made sure that what we wanted came first. So at this point, I was having fun. Yes, we were a year in and we were still waiting to get profitable. And I mean, really, we were paying all the bills for sure, but we hadn't yet taken a really healthy salary home yet. We were definitely covering everything. And I was having fun. Both of us were. We were working the number of days that we wanted to. So I was only working 3 days a week in the Scratch Start practice. Of course, I was navigating how to not be there 7 days a week, as we all know as entrepreneurs. But I was only in there 3 days a week. And I was really, really focusing on setting those boundaries for myself so that I made sure I was taking care of myself, making sure I was really only present in the office 3 days a week. And so I was having fun. I was showing up to work. It was the vision that I had. It was the values that I had. We'd hired team members who were aligned with those values. So the days felt fabulous. We were attracting patients incredibly quickly. We had done a lot of outreach in the community and really been intentional about expressing our values and what this practice meant. And it was incredible how the more specific we got around the purpose of this practice and the intention of how we were going to serve our patients, the more the patients just came and we got referrals. It was phenomenal. We were moving so much faster than our financial pro forma had predicted. So 1 year in, and we were also, by the way, I'm interrupting myself, we were also creating a little security for ourselves financially. So we weren't taking home money yet until we were sure there was a little cushion in case something happened. So a year in, we have a nice nest egg here. Things are flowing really well. And our financial advisor said, guys, it's really time to pay yourselves a hefty bonus. You deserve it. The money is there. Write yourselves this big, beautiful check. I mean, it was so cool. We celebrated. We were high-fiving each other. It was such a beautiful day when we literally, and I wrote the check intentionally, like old school, hand to check, so that I could take that check in and cash it. I didn't just transfer the money or send the money. I literally hand wrote the check so that we could take a picture of it and celebrate. It was a big, big deal for us to have this moment. And it was so exciting. 3 months later, my partner says to me, Tarryn, why have you not cashed that check? What is going on? It's been 3 months. You haven't cashed the check. And let's go because I want to reconcile these books in QuickBooks. And it was really interesting to me how I had been so resistant to actually banking that check. I'd written it. It was there. The money was earmarked for me. She had cashed her check. And what had happened in those 3 months is our businesses had actually started to flatline a little bit. It wasn't growing anymore. It had this really steady trajectory of growth. And then right after we wrote ourselves that check, it kind of flatlined. And the longer I took to bank the check, the more I felt uncomfortable doing it because I realized, oh, wait a minute, maybe I should leave it in there because we're not really growing much in the last 3 months. So maybe I should just leave it as a little cushion. It's like a little reinforcement happening there. The longer I took to pay the check, the less money we started bringing in, the less profitability we saw. And I realized immediately, wow, I am sabotaging the financial success of this practice. I am my own worst enemy, even when it comes to the finances of this practice. I had stalled the growth of our practice energetically, and even if you're not comfortable with that terminology, literally by the way I was showing up differently to work every day, with this little flavor of anxiety around money, this little distrust in my practice, this little fear that this trajectory of massive growth that we had seen, unprecedented, all of our business consultants and financial experts were shocked at how well we were doing. And I got in my own head and I was sabotaging it myself by not cashing that check. And of course, not cashing the check was just a behavioral example, an actionable example of what was actually going on within me, my belief system, and energetically, which is a perfect metaphor for how I was showing up to new patient exams, how I was showing up to the marketing, how I was showing up to holding morning huddles with my team. This was glaringly obvious. So I'm using this as a beautiful example to let you know that it happens all the time. And it's something that Gay Hendricks in his book, The Big Leap, talks about as an upper limit. What upper limits are, according to Gay Hendricks, and I really love this way of looking at it, is we have this sense of comfort around success. It can be around money, it can be around love, it could be around success or health or happiness, or our ability to feel ease and comfort and have easy flow in our lives. We have this kind of set point of how much we feel like we can handle, a capacity, or that we're worthy of, or that we earned. And I had reached that set point. It's a set point which, by the way, we get to intentionally change and shift. You do not have to live that way. And I want you to just realize, let's talk about money for a moment. Hello, incredible woman dental business owner. If you have been craving more freedom, more joy, and more ease, then this interruption in your podcast episode is meant for you. And so is the Empowered Owner Retreat, happening this November 13 through 16 at the stunning Diplomat Resort in Hollywood, Florida. This isn't just another conference, it's an intimate, transformational experience where we step away from the demands of your practice and the stresses of home and finally breathe, reset, and more importantly, reimagine what's possible. We'll redesign your business model so that it supports your life vision, not the other way around. You'll walk away with practical, tactical tools to reclaim your time, to lead your team with confidence, and be done with all the staffing drama and stress, to build a business that gives you more space and time, more peace, without having to hustle harder. It's an exclusive small group retreat and the spaces are almost gone. I honestly don't know if I'm ever going to be doing this again, so this is truly a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity. So if this speaks to you, schedule a time to chat with me. It's invite only, but I'd love to meet you and see if this is something that can serve you in your life and your business. So click on the link in the show notes or visit www.thebizofhappiness.com to learn more. Your time is now. Maybe you're realizing that in your life where you just can't make more than a certain amount of money. Even though you find jobs, even though you are in dentistry, which is enormously lucrative, there's kind of a point where you get to, you're like, I just can't make more than this. Or I make more, but I just then spend way more, so that the ultimate bottom line of my bank account is always around the same set point or below. I just can't seem to get to a certain place of financial abundance. And maybe it's not around finances. Maybe you're very comfortable with money and that's never been a problem for you. Maybe it's around love. And you realize, gosh, I'm dating, I'm in a relationship with my significant other, and we get to a certain point in our relationship and then I sabotage that relationship. There's a certain amount of love that I'll accept, and then more than that, I kind of turn off or push away in my life. And I liken this to a governor in a car. And by the way, I did not know what a governor was. My husband told me this years ago. I was like, oh, that's exactly like the upper limit. So I knew about upper limit before I knew about governors in cars. Did you know that cars have a mechanism in them that limits how fast they can go? I'm not sure that all cars have this, but definitely things like golf carts do, right? There, you can step on the gas and there's a point at which it will actually limit the golf cart from going any faster. It's called a governor. It's a limiter. It's like a thermostatic set point, which no matter how hard you try, it's preventing it from going beyond that. Rental cars have this as well. And certain cars just are not safe to travel at a certain speed. So they have this governor in them. I'm sure there are many other examples with cars. But I like this idea within us that we get to a certain set point, a certain point that we've established in our own subconscious, based on, the way you were brought up, based on your beliefs around yourself. And that's another whole conversation of what created that set point for you. But when we get to that set point, the governor steps in. And what does that governor look like for us? Well, there are really 4 big ways that we self-sabotage. And I think this first one you're all going to recognize within yourself. I'm jumping to conclusions here, but I know for me, this is a very real one. It's guilt or worry. Guilt or worry. And if I look back at that time when I really sat with myself and I said, Tarryn, why are you having trouble cashing this check? What is going on? I realized it was guilt, believe it or not. It felt too easy. I was enjoying myself. I felt guilty cashing the check when I was enjoying my work. It felt too easy. I had this set point in my mind that earning a lot of money meant you had to work really hard for it. And because I was having fun, I didn't feel like that torturous hard work that I was used to in dentistry before, of really fighting and pushing. I'd created an environment in my practice where it was actually enjoyable to go to work every day. It was enjoyable to do what I was doing. I loved it. It felt like an adventure that I was on with my business partner. She and I were so well connected. It was such fun that I felt guilty cashing that check. Now, that limiting belief is a whole nother topic we can talk about. But what I want you to hear is the self-sabotaging behavior. And the way that I was sabotaging was feeling guilt. Another way is worry. What might tomorrow bring? What could this mean more work for me? If this practice keeps growing, am I going to be overwhelmed with work? That worry about the future. And so we can look at the self-sabotaging behavior as guilt from the past or worry about the future. And either way, it stops you from being present in the moment. And that's the magic. That's the magic, is being present in the moment and allowing that wealth and abundance in the moment. Another way we self-sabotage is introducing illness or drama or conflict. Whew. Raise your hand if this rings true to you. And I remember this beautiful example in my own life. My husband and I went on a wonderful trip to Iceland one year, and he had planned the whole thing. I said to him, look, you plan this thing. He's a photographer. He wanted to make his photographic journey and vacation. I was like, I'm just excited to sit and read a book next to you. And so he planned the whole thing. We landed in Reykjavik, and the first thing he had planned, unlike 99.9 people who go to Iceland, if you've gone and experienced it, you know that everything is right there within like an hour and a half drive or 2-hour drive. This whole beautiful circle of phenomenalness is right near Reykjavik. No, Killian chose something 7.5 hours away. We had been up through the night with this red-eye flight. We got the rental car and we started driving for 7 hours. I was so exhausted. I felt like I was floating, that I literally didn't feel like I was in my own body. We had been so sleep deprived. And immediately I started sabotaging this opportunity. We had been looking forward to being together on a vacation without the kids, away from work, just reconnecting the two of us. And what did I do? I started picking a fight. For 7 hours, those first 7 hours of driving, I fought with my husband. For no reason. I had reached my limit of pleasure and enjoyment and ease. That governor stepped in and said, this is too much luxury and joy and ease and vacation and being in this magical place. We need to undo it a little bit. And that is actually what I did. I fought. And I undid this beautiful, precious moment that we had cultivated. It was a dream. It was a beautiful dream. We'd look forward to it for months. And what did I do? I self-sabotaged. Isn't it interesting how we do that? Here's another example. So those are the first two. The first one was guilt or worry, sabotaging. The second one I mentioned was introducing illness or drama or conflict. And maybe you've even recognized the illness part. Like you get this really great achievement and then suddenly you make yourself really sick so that you can't keep riding that momentum, right? Another one is deflection. Deflection of compliments or opportunities. You know the old, oh, I love what you're wearing. And you go, this old thing, it's so old and ratty. It's really not that good. Or, Tarryn, I loved that recent episode on your podcast. Oh, that one, I've done it 100 times. I really wish it was a little better. The deflection or of compliments or opportunities. You've been dreaming of an opportunity. It comes your way. And what do? You say, oh, I'm not good enough. Not for me. This is a little too soon. Right opportunity, wrong time. Ooh, maybe this is eliciting a little bit of stress in your body. And I'm going to offer you to just let go of the judgment. As we're going through this episode, can you let go of self-judgment? Because self-judgment is guilt. So let's not double down on self-sabotage. Let this just be data and interest. Isn't that interesting? Can you hold that perspective? Isn't it interesting that I see a pattern of self-sabotage? The fourth way of self-sabotage is criticism or blame. This is a really interesting one. I noticed this for myself as well. Years ago, I had this dream of speaking on big stages in dentistry, and I got this opportunity to speak on a really big stage, the biggest one I'd ever spoken on. It was in the Aria at Vegas, 2,000 people in front of me. I spoke. It was amazing. It was dream come true for me in terms of speaking. And wouldn't you know, immediately following it, I started blaming and judging the company that had hired me to speak and sabotaged all future speaking engagements. Something in me had established, Tarryn, this is where you stop. You got really big, really fast, and here is where we draw the line. And right there, I sabotaged by introducing blame and criticism. And in doing so, drained that positive momentum. You know, the great thing is, in each one of my examples that I've shared with you today, nothing is an end to the story. None of it. None of it has to be the end of the story. It's great opportunities to learn from. And when we have these moments when we realize, oh my gosh, I was self-sabotaging, let that be a moment of empowerment. because this is about the journey. You still get to have the big dreams, but now you have even more knowledge. You're not starting from scratch. You're starting from deep, intelligent experience. And that's the key here when we talk about, are you your own worst enemy? It's not to make you feel bad. It's to uncover those subconscious patterns that have kept you from the very thing that you are desiring, from the big dream that you've had inside your heart. And then we start telling ourselves, see, it's not possible for me. But maybe the exact opposite is true. Maybe it's been possible this whole time. And it's just been this limiting belief, this upper limit, this limit that you've created for yourself, your own glass ceiling. And the moment we identify it is the moment we get to shatter it. Now we get to do something about it. So I'd love for you, as a takeaway from this episode, to start identifying in your life, especially when there's been a dream that you feel like has just gone stale, that has just kind of been stunted. You got to a certain point in your life and now you kind of leveled out. I'd love for you to ask yourself, have I been playing a role in this self-sabotage in one of these 4 areas? Be it guilt and worry. Has that been introduced and limited that positive momentum? Has it been deflection of compliments or opportunities? Have I literally been turning away the very thing that I've been looking for and asking for and desiring? Has it been introducing illness or drama or conflict subsequent to a big win that really didn't need to be there? Or has it been criticism or blame that has just kind of tanked my energy and tanked my positive emotions around this and really stalled that beautiful momentum that I had in place that I know you're so capable of? Because if you're listening to this episode, if you're listening to this podcast, you are already drawn to a community of women who are highly capable, very strong, high ambitions, and also seeking to feel good about themselves. It's not just about the accolades, the success, the money. It's about also feeling fully fulfilled and satisfied and happy and sustaining that for the long term. Not just these one-hit wonders, but really feeling good over time and feeling that empowerment. And if you're listening to this, I know that you are drawn to that, and that's what you're seeking. And so this is such a great question to ask yourself. Am I sabotaging some part of my life in one of these aspects? So as you go through this week, let that just be something that you're thinking about as you're driving to work, as you're on your walk at lunchtime, which I hope you're taking a little bit of a break away from the office. Is there a part of my life that I've really been desiring, and have I played a role in sabotaging it? Because the awareness is the superpower. And next week, we're going to continue this conversation and uncover a little bit more and talk about some really great things that you can do once you've identified that upper limit. All right, my friends, thank you so much for joining me today. Remember always, when you feel good, that's when you can do good. Bye-bye. Thank you for listening to the Business of Happiness podcast. If this episode brought you new perspective and value, I invite you to subscribe so that you catch all upcoming episodes and leave us a review. And if you know of a friend or colleague who could benefit from this perspective, share this episode with them and empower their day. For more information about the Business of Happiness and the Radical Happiness for Practitioners course, find me on www.thebizofhappiness.com. See you there.